This is Let's Get Real with your realtor hosts, Mallory Myers and Rob Calabro, talking real life and real estate.
From the Buckeye State to the Sunshine State, this is Let's Get Real. Welcome in. What's going on, Mal?
Hey, Rob. How are you?
Happy
New Year.
Happy New Year's. Yes, our first, technically our first episode of 2022.
Yes.
So today we've got some good stuff. It's all 2022 related predictions. We're going to talk about the article we have about home trends that we're going to see in 2022, as well as some of the market forecasting for this year. So that's all good stuff. And then we'll do a little behind the scenes, some stories from each of us. So you ready to jump in?
Let's go.
All right. Awesome. Okay, so the thing I just mentioned, the 12 home decor trends that we're going to see in 2022. You and I were talking about this article, and it is from Food 52, so we could get a link on the YouTube for that. There's just a couple of good ones on here I know we wanted to discuss. Number one, or the second one, decorative cabinetry. You mentioned you like this trend.
Yes, I do. I like that it adds some style. Sometimes what I've noticed in homes, there's a pop of color. It just adds a little bit of personality to the home. So I'm a huge fan of that, whether it's in the kitchen or in the bathrooms. I love it. So I'm a big fan of it. What about you?
Have you actually seen it in properties yet?
Oh yeah. Throughout this last year, I've seen more color. Whether most of the time it's in the bathroom, and it's not like super vibrant or crazy. It's like a pretty charcoal or a blue with gold hardware, a little bit different of a design. And I just think it's attractive. It can be attractive. It obviously depends on how you do it, but I have seen it and I like it.
Can be is the key word there for me. So like I see some of these things, and if you've got, like, if you hired a stager or you hired a home decorator, or you're just really good with that stuff, then these type of pieces can look awesome in a bathroom. Or a kitchen or wherever. I think that in this article, the example they used was in a bathroom, but you can also take a really bright, like, decorative looking thing and not have it matched up correctly, and it just kind of sticks out and looks weird. So, I mean, for me, when I'm like thinking about how we're going to like design a remodel of a property or something, I look for more neutral stuff, because I think it's like easier to get everything to look clean and flow and all that. But I have seen it done really well. So I like the trend if you're into designing and you have a lot of creative juices flowing, that you're like, this goes with that and it matches, and if you do it correctly, I think it can be pretty cool.
I definitely agree. It
kind of goes along with the other one that was on here, loads of texture, which was number 4. With this with all the design trends we're seeing, I feel like things that we saw back, like that from the 80s and 90s, that were like ugly, are sort of coming back around in a much cleaner way, but they are coming back around.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I was looking through this list, I was like, wow, I feel like I could find all these pieces in my grandma's basement, and she was very classy style, not like your typical, grandma style. But I was looking through the list and I was just like, excuse me, like, she was ahead of the time. But also we're going back and picking and choosing what we liked from each decade, or what we liked from each, style, and pretty much just throwing it together as one. That's what it kind of seems like. I mean, this article says that there's going to be mixes of like velvets and woven furniture and different types of carpet. And it sounds scary when you say it like that, but if you look at it in the picture, or whatever the design inspiration is, it actually doesn't look that bad. It looks really pretty and still clean, like you said.
Yeah, like what you said about your grandma's stuff, like that's funny, but it's really true. So growing up, my mom's mother, my grandparents on my mom's side had these like bright gold like velvet couches, and they had this really nice wooden like it was like gold velvet and some like wood worked in on like the sides and stuff. But they were so out of place for their living room. It just was
Yeah.
weird, and I never thought of it like as being, but I think of that couch and how like funky it is, and then like think of some of today's design trends, and like you could, you get a designer or somebody in there, you could really make that thing look awesome in the right type of setting. And I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for like some of those trends from the 80s and 90s. So hopefully we do see some of those come back around, because I like all the color.
I agree. And another one on the list is kind of brings that in with the vintage and reclaimed. So
Definitely.
if you, I mean, go to your local antique, thrift kind of consignment decor, furniture shops, and you could probably find some really cool pieces that can blend together and match this kind of theme for the year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's some awesome stuff out there. I think I talked about this on the previous episode about that builder who had done like the reclaim barn, and they staged an entire new build model home with reclaim stuff, which I thought was awesome. It's definitely on trend. I mean, from what I'm seeing from a buyer demand standpoint, like those type of pieces in the right property could definitely make it pop. So when it comes to a home staging standpoint, finding stuff like that, if it's the right piece and you do it in the right way, it can look awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And it will be interesting to see how the stagers do the homes this year. If they're going to use what, these trends say in the homes that we'll end up seeing that are vacant but staged.
Yeah. So number 3 was sustainability practices. Have you seen that at all, or have you noticed that?
Let's kind of go back up to sustainability is the new sexy. I love it.
Yes. Well, I mean, so yeah, I like manufacturers taking recycled product and creating something. I think that's really cool.
Right.
I don't know that I would see a piece and notice it and be like, I like it because of that factor. But when I hear about like companies doing that, I think it's great.
No, I agree. And here, it's definitely big here. So I think that we'll start seeing it more and more, especially if it can help reduce electric bills or whatever, water, for things like that in the home. I think that people are trying to get creative to save money. And again, if building things is so expensive right now, people are looking into other options. So it shall be interesting.
Okay, so my favorite one on the list was number 7, in-home bars.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. And this picture is really nice. It's a really nice looking home bar. I don't think everybody could have a home bar that looks like this.
Yes, I'm envious of that one particularly. And I mean, we don't have we have a basement, but it is not the kind of basement that you would finish. It's more of like a storage area at best. And so someday maybe I will find a house. My wife wants us to find a house now, but someday we'll get a house with a nice basement and do a little bar in the basement like my parents had growing up.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you remember that bar, but my grandpa actually did the tile work. He was a brick mason. He did the tile work on that bar in my parents' house. So really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Someday I aspire to have a bar like that in my house, but we definitely don't yet. But whenever I'm showing with clients and they want to do like a man cave or something in the basement, yeah, that's a huge bonus.
It is. Yeah. Or like a mother-in-law suite or she shed or whatever it is, to kind of have that be the entertaining space, or like you said, the man cave. But it's interesting because it does, kind of talk about the pandemic and how that plays an effect with some of these trends. And the next one I know we'll discuss, it does tie that in as well. But, when you're working from home and you're not really, you're trying to have something to create joy without, maybe risking your health if you have to go out, and maybe, you're immune compromised. So it's interesting that it's on here.
And not only, I think of at home, yeah, of course, the first thought is like a cool bar in your basement or somewhere. But I mean, I'm seeing this trend with coffee bars. Like people want like a special coffee station in or near their kitchen, like that. And that's one of my favorite trends. I love a good coffee station.
Yeah, same.
And you can even get like a nice wet bar set up in your main level. It doesn't have to be in the basement, but that I think is definitely a trend that we're going to continue to see going forward. For like you just said, more reasons to entertain and stay home in today's day and age.
Yeah, and that with the pandemic and everything, on number 10 on the list was closed floor plans. Which is insane to me, because just think about all of the homes we've been seeing and what our clients want, and it's open floor plan. They want a big kitchen, they want to be able to entertain, they want to see their guests while they're in the kitchen. When you have a party, where are you 90% of the time? In the kitchen. So this is very interesting.
Very interesting. I haven't had anybody tell me that they want to get away. I'll take that back. I've had one or two clients, tell me they prefer like having their separate spaces. In fact, I'll tell you what.
Yes.
That is something I've heard more often lately, is we want to have, different spaces to do different things. If I'm working from home, I want my spouse to have their own space to work from home, or their own space to do this. So in a way, I can see that, like where the idea comes from, but I haven't had anybody come to me and say, we're really looking for a house that has a closed off floor plan. Just haven't seen that yet. But I think about
me either.
In Florida, I don't know if they have this, but probably not, because you guys don't do basements in Florida. But in Columbus, in Ohio, a really popular floor plan is called a 5-level split. It actually has 5 levels, like a half. One of the lower levels is like halfway down, and then the next one is all the way down. And that is a pretty popular floor plan because it gives you some openness, but it also gives you some separated spaces to do different, have different areas of your home set up for whatever you need them for. So interesting trend. That's not like a new floor plan or anything, but I have noticed people like asking about it and liking that layout.
No, it is interesting because I kind of can envision exactly what you're talking about. My dad has a house like that, and it's kind of funky because on the outside you don't realize it's as big as it is on the inside, but it has one when you walk in. There's half of it is like the main floor. And then you have staircases, 5 steps going upstairs, 5 steps going downstairs. Yep. And then that downstairs area has another downstairs. So you go down like 10 stairs for a basement. And he has a loft, and he has 2 bedrooms up there. And then you have that whole like weird entertaining space and a guest bedroom, and then it's just odd. But again, it's a great floor plan if you work from home and you're a married couple working from home and you need 2 completely separate spaces. You definitely have it in a floor plan like that.
I agree. Okay, so that's interesting. Are we coming full circle on this and now saying that maybe closed floor plans are possible?
I think not for a kitchen. I think that closed floor plans, you pretty much just want separate spaces. Whether it's, some people are asking for more bedrooms now. They want 4-bedroom houses so they can have a guest room and 2 designated office spaces.
Yep.
They're definitely looking for more space to do the things they need to do to work from home. But I don't think it's a closed floor plan thing.
I think I 100% agree. More spaces, not necessarily a closed off floor plan. Are you seeing in your market, because I feel like I'm seeing this here, are you seeing a trend of people wanting to get outside of the highly trafficked, like downtown areas?
So what I'm seeing is that people have no other option but to go outside of those areas, because
Okay.
it is just growing. It's so expensive. They're building and building and building. I mean, millions and millions and millions of dollars are going into our downtowns.
Yeah.
So where people want to be is close to the action, but they're being forced outside of it because they can't afford to keep up with the prices. I mean, rent is, 25% rent increases.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And there's nothing but apartments downtown St. Pete and condos. And then the single family home neighborhoods around it, their prices are jumping up because of the demand of being close to downtown.
Yep.
So that's what I'm seeing.
Okay. Yeah, and I tend to agree. So like the trend I feel like I'm noticing, and I've read this in other articles and things, is that people are wanting to get outside. They want a walkable area. They want close proximity, but they don't necessarily need to be on top, like in the downtown business district. And you're right, as prices continue to increase in some of the like more high demand areas, then people are seeing where they can get value. I mean, personally, the way I see it is if you got a suburb that has a nice downtown area, but offers some good value as far as the price points and the style of home you can get, like that's going to trend upward over the next few years, I think. I mean, we know, like I know here in Columbus, some of the neighborhoods that have always been really popular are going to continue to always be in high demand. But as the prices continue to increase, buyers, especially newer buyers and first-time home buyers, are going to look for where they can get more value outside of some of those neighborhoods.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll have to see. Okay, number 11 on the list. This is good for Florida, I think, but maybe I'm wrong. Indoor, outdoor living spaces.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much our sunrooms, right? Like it's being able to enjoy being outside and having it be accessible to open sliding doors or open all the windows just to feel like you're outside. But also it rains a lot here, in the summer, it's like every day at 3:00, here's the rain. Like you just know that don't let it cancel your beach plans. Just keep going. Cause by the time you get to the beach, it'll be done.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of sunroom spaces, a lot of homes that have full wall sliding glass doors, so that on a very beautiful day they can open it all up, enjoy their pool, enjoy their backyard, especially in the spring and the winter, when it actually is nice enough to open up all your windows and your doors.
Yeah, I absolutely love that part about like a lot of Florida houses is you've got like where you can literally just like slide open all the doors and like take your living room into your outdoor space. Obviously, we don't see that as much here, but I would love to see that as a little bit more of a trend in the Ohio market or even in Columbus, because I mean, I do see people spending more money and spending more time on their backyards and, building a nice paver patio, building a nice deck, creating a more livable space. And I've said this for a while, is that even though, if you can create an outdoor living space that is a really nice living space, that adds value to your home. It's not the same as adding finished square footage, but it is similar to adding an addition to your house because it's giving people another place to live and to spend time. As long as it's done correctly and done really nicely, it's going to add a lot of value.
I agree. It's a quality of life thing, right? Like if I had a little nook in Ohio where it's like all glass windows and I can enjoy my coffee in the morning and read, and it's a beautiful winter morning, or it's, a rainy morning, or, you have more seasons of opportunities to enjoy the weather temperature wise, and not be like 99 degrees with 99-degree humidity. It's a little bit different, enjoyable experience. I would love that, and to enjoy like the different seasons. So I agree. I think that people love to enjoy the outdoor space, so why not make it one?
Yeah, totally. All right, let's move on and talk about our predictions, or not our predictions, but some predictions for the 2022 real estate market.
Yes, what the people really want to know. What is going to happen in 2022? Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at a market that you sent me, which was from Keeping Current Matters. Will home prices go up or down in 2022? Okay, so according to this article, they have pulled numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different national economic places like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the NAR, and the average prediction for 2022 home price forecast is 5.1%. So, according to all these different economic firms, they believe on average the values of homes across the United States is going to go up about 5%. Now, I don't know what that's great, and it's I don't know what the numbers have been in Florida, but I can tell you in Columbus, year over year, we're at somewhere between 13 and 16% home price appreciation, which is a very substantial number. So bringing that back down to 5% is, in my opinion, not going to be too bad for the market. It might be really good for the market. We're going to find some buyers can get a home, and can more people can afford a property potentially. But on the flip side, home sellers aren't losing anything. They're just not gaining as much as they were in as fast of a time frame.
Right. Yeah, the 5% is nothing in compared to what we've been seeing with like 20% over 2020 and 2021.
Crazy,
like insane. So I think people can breathe a little sigh of relief that 5 to 6% over 2022 is not going to be as scary. But obviously, with interest rates also starting to climb up, and they predict they will. Some of the articles I was reading up to, worst case scenario, up to 4% by the end of the year. Yeah. So I'm sure that's not really going to be that significant of a jump right away, but that's why starting the process to home buy now is so crucial, because if the home prices are going up, if your interest rates are going up, obviously you're not going to get the same house that you could now for the same price later.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a good point that I wanted to talk about next is, okay, so home price appreciation is predicted to decrease, which means the rate of appreciation is not going to be as high, but it does not mean that the home values are decreasing. So if you're in the market today saying, I'm going to wait till prices go down and I'm going to get a deal, these numbers aren't telling us that that's going to happen. What they're telling us is that the values of properties across the country are going to still go up in value. So if you wait, you're still going to pay it. Like, if this number is correct, you're going to still pay somewhere between 5 and 7% higher at the end of this year than you would at the beginning of this year. The difference is you're also going to have a higher interest rate. So, maybe if you're looking at a very long time frame, you might see more relief. But I haven't seen a whole lot of economic predictions that say that we're going to see prices go down. In 2008, prices did decrease, but that was pretty rare. If you look at the whole scope of the market since like the 1900s, that I don't know if that maybe happened like maybe once or twice over the last 100 years. So the likelihood that that you actually get a house to cost less in 6 months or 10 months than it would today is not very likely.
Right. Yeah. It's not. So when you hear those people that are saying, well, I'm just going to wait to see what happens. I'm going to wait. It's going to crash, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to crash. It's not going to crash. We're just, we're hopeful for more inventory, which would help our buyers to not have to compete against every single house with 30 offers, maybe 3 offers instead, which gives you a whole better,
that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, 3, if I could compete against 3, we got this. But, last year it was 30 offers on a house. Mm-hmm. So, I do believe that we'll see a little bit more inventory now that we can educate sellers and say, listen, like there's options for you to close and still have a roof over your head if you need to. Because I know a lot of them are afraid. What are they going to do if they can't find a house in 30 days? So, I know we mentioned it before. But there's options that the seller has. So if we can continue to educate them on that, then I think that we'll be able to see more inventory hit the market, and the fear will start to kind of go away. So hopefully we'll get more inventory, and that'll help as well.
Yeah, I mean the increase in rates will definitely provide some relief to buyers in this market. The difference between a 0.5% and 1% or 0.25%, they can be substantial depending on your price point. Now, I don't think that we're going to see any type of rate increase that just kills the market. Like you said, the predicted average towards the end of this year could be in the high 3s or 4%. When I bought my personal residence 3 or 4 years ago, our rate was 4.875. And that was fine at the time. It wasn't that big a deal. And obviously now we're like getting spoiled with rates, locking on a multifamily investment property at 3.5 is like a crazy good deal. And so we are a little spoiled, but rates going up could actually help the market a little bit, and it's not going to kill the market. But if you are a buyer and you are taking action now, it's something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's circle back because you touched on this a little bit, but we didn't really dive into it. Will the housing inventory rise in 2022? What is your prediction for that?
I think it will. I think that the fear is going to kind of like I mentioned a few moments ago, the fear of where am I going to go is going to start to fade. People are going to look into other options. Again, I'm not sure if we covered this before, but there's a lease back option that's really popular right now. Mm-hmm. So sellers have to sell to buy. Sell, put your house on the market, tell all of the buyers, listen, like I'm going to need to rent this from you for, let's say 90 days to make sure that I have a house that I close and I can move into, but I need the cash from this home to do so. A lot of buyers are okay with that right now because they just want the house. Yeah. So as a seller, again, you have total control in your hands. If you can't move out in 30 days, you don't have to. Put your house on the market, cash out, and take advantage of it while you can and say, listen, like I'm going to rent this from you for 90 days and then, you can move in. So I hope that we'll start to see more strength and confidence in sellers. So I do hope, and I do think that we'll start to see an increase in inventory.
Yeah, and that specifically to that point about the seller rent back agreements, we see it a lot here in Columbus. I would recommend to people that you get a real lease agreement or at least a pretty detailed rent back agreement in place along with your purchase contract, because at that point in time, the buyer becomes the owner of the property and the seller is renting it from them. So, being thorough on that part of it is really important, especially to protect the buyers, because I know from personal interactions with a lot of people, they will do it. Buyers will happily do it to get the house, but it's not ideal because they're then becoming responsible for the property, and then they start worrying about things that could happen. So, as long as you protect yourself correctly, it works out. It usually works out.
Absolutely. And I have done it before where, you create a lease and, you create an agreement, and It like you said, it usually does work out.
Yeah. So to get back to the question about inventory, I mean, my feeling from what I'm seeing and reading is that we're going to have a very front-loaded market in 2022. I think that because of the threat of raising rates, people are going to be rushing to try to get something done. But the way I think about it is that the strength of the market is usually driven by the consumer's confidence in the marketplace. So right now their consumers are going to be rushing to get something done, and hopefully sellers can take advantage of that in the first 6 months of this year. But people are going to notice in the back half of this year that the market is still moving, homes are still selling, and I don't think there's going to be any kind of crazy drop off. You and I were discussing earlier about the Inman predictions, and the one prediction that they mentioned was that 2022 was going to become a buyer's market. And I disagree with that. And I know you do too.
Yeah.
To explain to our listeners, by definition, a buyer's market means that we would have more than 6 months of supply of inventory on the market, which means if we stopped putting houses on the market and just sold through the homes that were currently on the market, it would take 6 months to sell through that inventory. That's how we would define a buyer's market. And you think about that, and do you think that being that right now, I mean, in Columbus, it's an average of about 1 or below 1 month supply of inventory, depending on the location that you're looking at. So do I think that it's going to get to 6 months? Probably not.
Not at all. No, we're a 1 month as well. And it's no way. I mean, I would love to see that happen for my buyers, in a sense. I'd love to see them have a little bit of relief. But at the same time, I do not see that prediction at all.
Yeah, but if it increases a little bit to maybe a 2 or 3 month supply of inventory, that'd be great, right? It would be
great.
Yeah, that could help a lot of our clients out that are just want to get into a house and have a place to call home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that turns out.
We'll touch back on this in December.
Do you
see how everything worked out?
Do you have any other 2022 predictions that we should discuss?
I think that we'll start to see a lot more virtual home staging. I think that we'll, start to see some more high definition virtual tours online, because a lot of people are looking from out of state, and I think it makes things easier for them to look at a home that way. So I have noticed some pretty cool tours that are done that way now, which is really awesome for somebody that, for example, I just recently had a client who wanted to see a property, and they were accepting highest and best that day at 5:00. And my client couldn't get in there before then, but the agent had already done this really awesome detailed walkthrough and recorded a link, sent me the link. I was able to send it to my buyer so they could at least make a decision from there if they were comfortable in submitting an offer, something they haven't seen. So I think that would be a really good option to do for those people that, we mentioned last week, I believe that, a 12-hour window of showings only, not everybody can get in that. So how can we get that exposure for more eyes, quickly? I think that would be something we really take off.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Something that we as listing agents need to think about in helping as many people get exposure to the property as possible. Now, something that I always evaluate when I'm getting ready to list a property is the specific condition of that property. So, like the virtual tours, the Matterport, you're familiar with Matterport.
Yeah.
It's that really nice in-depth, like 360 view virtual tour that we can do. Certain properties are really good candidates for that. If they're in really great condition, if they're clean, if they're staged. And some properties, we can actually tell a little bit of a better story of the property without that. If it's got some wear and tear, and just, I'm not saying that we don't want to show the full thing, but we may get more buyers in doing it the other way. So that's something I consider when I'm like guiding somebody as to how to market the property. But you're right, in today's day and age, we got to do everything we can. And I'll be honest, virtual tours, even like with your phone, with the camera, can do a really good job. I had a client this past week, an off-market property. They're out of state, and we're just doing a tour that way. And it doesn't tell the whole story, but it for most buyers, it can put you in a position where you can make a decision,
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
after that, you'll uncover, more if you need to during a home inspection or whatnot.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I do. I have a ton of out-of-state buyers right now, and I do full detailed videos, and I break down the videos a minute and a half, because I want to detail how you walk in the room, how you walk in the kitchen, where the kitchen is to the bathrooms, what does the street view look like? There's a lot of details outside of here's the kitchen, here's the bathroom, there's a lot more to make you want to buy a home.
Oh yeah. And when you're doing that video tour, like you forget all the angles and things you have to get. Cause like when you just walk through with somebody, it doesn't take too long. They see the room that you see the room, but with your camera, there's a lot more attention to detail that has to go into it.
Yep.
All right. So
what about you?
What about me as far as 2022 predictions?
Yeah.
I think that as far as from a market standpoint, I think we're going to continue to see the trend of people trying to find more value in certain parts of. For me, I think about Columbus when I'm answering this question, and I think about the areas of popularity, and I think that we're going to see new neighborhoods and new areas become more and more popular as buyers find value where they hadn't before. And that only comes up because I mean, you look at the pricing and you say, okay, this property last year would have been $260,000. This year it's $315,000, and that's a totally different category of buyer. So what is that buyer left to do? Well, either A, they just bump up in price and they pay the difference, whatever, or B, they start looking for alternate options, a comparable neighborhood or a comparable area that could give them sort of still what they're looking for. So I think from a local market trend, there's some areas that are going to become higher in demand because of that factor. I don't know, from a national standpoint, like I agree with what we talked about earlier. I think we're going to see a very fast-paced market. I mean, I know it's starting in January already. It's just crazy here, and I'm sure it's crazy there too.
Yeah, it is. It is, definitely.
All right, well, let's move on to our behind-the-scenes segment. I
know you have one. I don't even know if I have one yet, but maybe I'll get my thinkers on while you tell yours.
All right,
why don't you tell me yours, Rob?
You get the juices, the thoughts flowing while I'm so as you know, I renovate a lot of properties. We're currently under construction on 2 different rental properties, and in construction, I mean, we're just renovating. We're not building from scratch or anything. But this is a story about setting the right expectations for people you work with. So not real estate agents, but in this case, I'm talking about contractors. Because everybody who owns a home or aspires to own a home or own rental properties or whatever is going to have to deal with contractors and problems. I recently had, as I said, we're renovating this property. One of the things that has to happen is we're creating a window in an area of the property of the house that doesn't currently have anything. It's framed for a window and then it's covered with siding. I hired a contractor 2 months ago to get me a quote, and install a window in that area. And I like him. I've used him. It's a company. It's not just one person, but they have done a good job for me in the past. I didn't think anything of it when I asked them. They went out, they measured and all this stuff. I never got a quote though. I didn't think anything of it because I kind of trusted that they would just like I'd done this exact project in another house. So I know exactly what to expect for the cost and everything. But anyways, they tell me this week that they are too busy and can't handle the project. And this was 2 months ago. So I think to myself, wait a minute, you couldn't tell me 2 months ago that you couldn't handle this project, that you waited and I of course I'm just like sending texts every once in a while, like, hey, what's going on? And I'll just get like, an update without anything, we're working on it or whatever. Not really get a solid update. So for me, the lesson is that I needed to have somebody else in the pipeline, like as a backup, or I needed to, and I never thought to get some sort of written contract. I mean, I'll get written agreements on a lot of things, but this is just a window, one window in a contractor that I've used before and I thought would do a good job. So, it's kind of a gripe, I know, but
that's
at the same time,
frustrating.
It's really frustrating because that means that my guy who's framing and drywall can't complete his portion of the project because that window has to get installed so that we can frame around it and drywall up to the edges, and like, so it sort of sets the whole project back.
Right.
And now I got to go find somebody else, and it just frustrates me because I could have been working on finding somebody else 2 months ago if you just would have said, hey, I can't handle this project. And what I think about it is, from a contractor standpoint, is it's really, really bad customer service.
So bad.
And it may not make financial sense for him to pull a crew member off of another job to go do one small project. But from a customer service standpoint, in the long run, it would make sense because I'd remodel a lot of properties. And what am I going to do? Hire you again, even though you like screwed me on this project? Of course not.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, this is a lesson that if you deal with contractors, you will learn for sure at some point in time, because it's not the first time something like this has happened, but I was surprised and disappointed.
Yeah, that is so upsetting. We've talked about this a few times in business lately, where if just communicate, my feelings are not going to get hurt if you communicate with me at the very beginning. If you tell me I don't have time to do this, tell me, don't make me waste 2 months of productivity because you are afraid to give me bad news, or you just push me aside. I'd rather you tell me, listen, I really love your business, but I can't take it on right now. I have a really great guy that I'll send you his information. Why don't you see if he can help you? Or, hey, no problem. I'll see if one of my other guys can do it. Thank you for letting me know.
Yes.
I would still like call you again to see if you could do a future business with me, because you were honest and upfront, and I still really like you. I still really want to do business with you if you can take it on in the future. But if you give me 2 months of nothing, now I'm just frustrated.
Right. I mean, like you said, why not be a problem solver and help me help me find somebody else, do something instead of just saying, oh, sorry, I can't. And it makes me think of like you and I, like, what if we took a client to see a house and we showed them the property and there was an offer deadline, and the day before the offer or the day of the offer deadline, they tell us they want to make an offer, and then we go, oh, I'm too busy today, so you can't make an offer on this property. And it's like, well, I don't have time to go find another agent to make an offer, so I'm just going to miss out. I mean, I know It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of the same. Like, I'm waiting on you, and then all of a sudden you just say no at the last minute, and now it pushes my whole project back. So
that's the thing with new builds and new construction. Back to your original point of expectations and stuff in the beginning. If I have a client who has a new build or any kind of new construction, I tell them, do not hold on to the date they give you, because there's too many hands in the pot. There's too many things happening behind the scenes. For example, exactly what happened to you over a window, you have to be flexible for change, because it's too many hands in the pot, too much out of your control. It's frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yeah, don't get me started on that, because I've got multiple new builds in contract right now, and
man,
there's just delays on everything. Some builders handle it really well, and some do not. So, but just like you said, it all boils down to expectations, and you set the right expectations. That house is probably not going to get completed in the time frame that they give you. It's just
right.
not.
Yeah. So have flexibility, or have somewhere else to go as a backup, because if you're
have a backup plan.
Have a backup plan. And that's a good, I guess you can have that great, but it's a teachable moment for you, right? It's definitely teachable. And I think that I'll use my little behind the scenes or tip or whatever to kind of just say how important it is as a realtor to have preferred people, have your go-tos, and have a couple. I have a preferred lender. I don't see me needing my backup, but I have a backup. I have a preferred inspection company. They're always able to get me in and my clients in very quickly. As soon as I know I'm going under contract, I text my guy and he gets me in next 2 days. If he couldn't, I have a backup. I have a painter. I have, AC guys. I have, electricians. I have a couple options. So that way, if one can't make it work, I've got a backup.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good, it works the same. It works with lender. I just had this week with a lender that we were trying to get numbers on a couple of different pricing scenarios, and for the client to make an offer, and we just couldn't get an answer back. And finally I went to a different lender that I know, and right away, within 10 minutes we had the numbers. So
that's great.
It does make a difference. So
it does. And I think it's something that I want to encourage new agents with, okay, you have your real estate license. What do I do now? What should I do? Who wants to buy or sell in real estate? But there's so many other things that you could be working on. And I think building those relationships, getting your preferred people ready, because when you get a house under contract, now you have to go through an inspection. Do you have a preferred inspector? Because most likely your client is not going to know what to do, where to go, who an inspector is. So have those relationships built and ready. That way you can be successful for when you are under contract. You have all the right people in line to help you.
Absolutely. And those people, as a new agent, those people will help educate you and help you become a better agent, hopefully. If they're good relationships, they should. So yeah, I think it's a great point. All right. So we've had a good episode today. We talked about several different 2022 forecasts, a couple of good tips. Anything else you want to leave our listeners with before we head out?
No, I think that, stay encouraged for the year. Don't give up if you're a buyer. Like we've talked about before, start getting prepared now to buy. Get your finances in order. Talk to a lender, talk to a real estate professional. Start the process now. If you are looking to sell your home, meet with a professional. Just get your comps, get the house ready. Start now, because it just, you don't have time to wait. You don't have time to wait.
100%, especially in this year where we talked about, we expect it to be a very busy, front-loaded real estate year. So if you're going to be in the market to buy or to sell, get that process going and let us know how we can help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we will talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Everybody have a great day.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.